panel on why that is. But right, why are the churches not intricately working with, you know, the grassroots organizations, working with NYCERTA, who's working with all these other folks? And so we really need to also be thinking about whether that comes in the form of GIS mapping, or whether it's just us getting together with a big piece of butcher paper and figuring out who's in the community, keeping it real low tech. But we need to also be thinking about how do we map the resources in our community, and then how do we utilize them, thinking about strategies to utilize them.
If I could add to that, I just want to say, to flip that question around, it's actually in the Bronx not a question of why aren't the churches getting involved. There's some really amazing examples of how these different sectors are starting to function in different ways and not being siloed anymore, right? Because we've suddenly realized competing over crumbs is not helping us out, right? And that when you get together around the same table and you say, okay, what are our priorities in terms of our problems, and what do each of us bring, right? And maybe I'm over here and I've got some youth volunteers with skills and we have no form of transportation or nothing to do. And over here, I've got an abandoned lot, but no people to like work it. When you're at the same table, it's really obvious what's the next step. And I think those things are happening, and every community can do that, even when it feels like you're starting with nothing. So great question, thank you.
And so I've been told by the convener of this wonderful stage that we can take one more question, and this man here is going to fly across all of y'all if we don't take his question.
I'm going to just yell, and you can repeat my question. You already touched on part of the answer with the churches. Could you all tell me how can we get 10% or even 10% of the families in, say, your community or your farmers market to just spend $10 a week in the farmers market, and what kind of an impact financially would that have on your community and controlling your own community's destiny?
So the question was, how do we get folks in our community, how do we get 10% of the folks in our communities to come out to something like a farmer's market and spend $10 a family, and what kind of impact would that have on our sort of economic viability in our community?
I can't begin to tell you what the impact of locally grown food does. However, it's real easy. It ties into a concept that Tanya talked about, and to answer this young lady's brilliant question. 2 words: social responsibility. And you couple social responsibility with individual choice. So for the power in this internet age of getting people to mobilize every day, for example, on the Green Bronx machine, there are 4,000 people talking about this every day. It's the power of communication. Instead of following something that makes no sense, follow something that makes some sense. Across the room, we are all Americans. We are African Americans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, and we can make decisions for ourselves that impact our community. Pardon me? Caucasians, okay? You know, Caucasians. But that's who we are. And if we keep this power locally, we're going to be healthy locally. And we're going to make decisions. Listen, when we start taking abandoned lots and places that were once destitute and turning them into destination locations, guess who we don't need? More police, because grandma's down there and communities are out there. And I'm not trying to diss the police, but what I am trying to do is encourage local community involvement. And that's really what it's all about. It's really about the power of young people. And I will tell you that I got into this not because I had an epiphany, but because it was young people. And then don't ever discount the mommy, mommy, mommy factor. When I get 500 people to show up at my farmer's market, it's not because I called them. It's because the kids are like, mommy, 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 come. And then once people get a taste of it, it makes something that I say is a whole lot of dollars, but way more sense. But when it does make dollars, and those dollars stay in the community, it's a way of changing things. I'm thrilled to say that in the South Bronx, we have people who were formerly selling drugs who are making more money selling vegetables. And no one's ever been shot, you know, selling vegetables. So that's the kind of aspirational community we can aspire to. It's a real si se puede moment. So thank you for your great question, and thank you for yours. Locally grown, locally spent, locally saved. It kind of works, and it grows, it gets bigger.
And I think Steve really, he is such an authority. You know, if you haven't seen Steve's TED Talk, you should go see it. He's brilliant. I've worked with Steve personally and seen these young folks really get involved and seen them talk about what it means to be able to now contribute to their families financially because they needed to. Not like, oh, I just want to buy these Jordans, but they needed to have a job in their family for there to be economic equity. And so I feel like he really is sort of the authority on that, and I thank him for sort of, I think on that we need to close. We need to wrap up and prepare for the next panel. Want to be sensitive to their time as well. This is so engaging. I wish we could have had more time. I don't want to leave you guys, but I do want to say thank you for coming out and asking some brilliant and amazing questions. And I think the panelists will be around for a little while longer. I want to thank Osiris James of Urban Go Green for actually having this stage here. I think it's so important that he really recognized the need in New York to have this conversation. He was very intentional about making sure that he got certain types of folks out to really talk about that. This being a Bronx-dominated panel was not an accident, and so I want everyone to give him a round of applause for doing the work that he does. And then last shameless plug, tonight at the Brecht Forum, we are having a party from 7 to 12, solidarity pricing. It's multi-generational. Bring your teenagers if you like. Tickets start at $5, pay whatever you want. Tali here is going to be our green drinks mixologist. She makes a mean sangria. My two farmer buddies over here are driving an eco bus run on veggie oil from the Javits Center to the Brecht Forum. My assistant has postcards. It's at 451 West Street, right off the West Side Highway, so very easy to get to. And I hope you guys come out and we can continue this awesome conversation.